Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another recommendations video. I don't know what's happening with my lighting with this one. We're just going with it. I feel pale and sickly in this lighting. We'll see what it looks like when I'm editing it. I don't know. But I feel like giving you some forbidden romance recs. So the way that I picked these, I have done many like taboo romance recs before, which are also usually forbidden. I say this, all taboo books are forbidden romance, but not all forbidden romance is taboo. That's something that I always say, because generally taboo means forbidden, but forbidden doesn't always mean taboo. So for this one, I have some forbidden romance recs across like all subgenres of romance. We have some historical, some mafia, some dark contemporary, and even a paranormal and an alien romance to get to for this. So I have Lynn here to help me with these recs. I wanted something warm and cozy, but I didn't want to have coffee at 6 o'clock at night. So I made a like decaf chai, caramel chai latte, and I figured I'd have my favorite cowboy with me. But anyway, also just wanted to say thank you to all the recent subscribers that I've gotten and all your support. My recent videos have been doing very well for recommendations, and that makes me very happy. Recommendations videos are some of my favorite things to film because they are my favorite things to see from other creators. I love when I can just sit down and have my Goodreads tab or my Amazon tab open and just be able to pick up some new books in my favorite trope. So also, if you don't know, I do have a playlist that has over 150 recommendations that you can go through. I'll link that playlist, or else if you go to my homepage, you can find that playlist that's recommendations. So I get messages from a lot of people sometimes who are like going through the backlog of all my recommendations. And it makes me happy. So let's go ahead and dive into these. As I said, I'll kind of say what the forbidden aspect is for each of them, but probably a pretty quick synopsis. If you want more, you can, obviously look them up on Goodreads or something, just because I try to keep these recommendation videos quick, and by quick, that means under 30 minutes for me, hopefully closer to 20. But let's get to it. First, I have a recent release, and that is A Scoundrel of Her Own by Stacy Reid. This is book 3 in the Sinful Wallflower series. This book just came out the end of December, so it squeaked its way into 2021, but it is absolutely wonderful. So this book is about Lady Ophelia Darby, who exists in two worlds. It says she is the daughter of, I don't know if it's a duke or a viscount or whatever, but she's the daughter of society, basically. She is a rich daughter. And then we have Devlin Byrne, who these two actually met when they were children, and Ophelia actually fell into a river, and Devlin jumped in after her and rescued her, and they end up being together alone for a couple days until someone's able to find them. And he kind of keeps her safe during that time. And when he gets her back to her family, he says, like, one day I'm going to marry her. And her father is kind of like, haha, never going to happen. Stay away from my daughter. And Devlin goes about spending the next years of his life, many years of his life, becoming a man who could be worthy of Ophelia. And the way that all plays out is very interesting, but this definitely is a class difference that makes this forbidden. And I just enjoyed this so much. I had given this book 4.5 stars when I originally read it. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I just also love this cover. I love that Stacy Reid is still doing these super sexy like clinch covers on her books, so I will always shout those out. But I do really recommend this. It was so much fun. And Stacy Reid's books are more often a hit than not for me, so I highly recommend this. Then I have a recent read for me. This isn't a super new release. Well, I think it only came out 2 years ago. But that is Joss and the Countess by S.M. LaViolette. This is book 2 in the Seducer series. S.M. LaViolette is an alternate pen name for Minerva Spencer, although I always say S.M. LaViolette like is her name. Her name is Chantel LaViolette and Minerva Spencer is like a different one, but this is her indie title, like her indie pen name, so it's usually called the pen name. Anyway, whatever. The point being, this whole series is basically forbidden romances, but Joss and the Countess was my favorite one. This is a bodyguard romance. It's an older woman romance. She's a widow, but she is being blackmailed by her stepson, so want to put that out there. There are a lot of kind of dark elements going on in this one, but Joss used to be a prostitute, and now he has kind of left that life behind to become a bodyguard. He is a big, ugly brute. It's literally how he's described. Women are very attracted to him, though, because he has these, like, huge hands and big muscles, and he's strong. And so he definitely doesn't have a problem with the ladies. He's just, the way that he's meeting them, he doesn't want to do it the way he did before. Anyway, what am I saying? The point is, he didn't want to be a prostitute anymore, but there's still, women kind of still flock to him sometimes. And in this case, he is now the bodyguard for our heroine, whose name is Alicia. And Alicia is actually an American, and she's a 2-timed widowed woman. And all she wants to do is live out her widowhood in peace. It's not like she's super old or anything. I believe it's like a 10-year age gap. She's like 38 and he's like 28, so it's not like it's a huge difference or anything like that. But there are some very dark things that have happened in Alicia's past, and it's not so much she's afraid of Joss knowing what they are, it's that she has to be careful that society doesn't find out what those secrets are, because she could lose her position and independence as a, you know, widowed woman. And yeah, and this book actually begins with Joss is her bodyguard, right? And he is responsible for like bringing her to meet her lovers. And in the beginning of this, she's actually breaking up with one of her lovers. And so Joss has to kind of step in a little bit because of that. But yeah, I really enjoy these books. I really enjoy how S.M. LaViolette writes. She really does push you to make you kind of look at things in a different way, a way you're maybe not used to in a historical romance, but they still always have an HEA, no matter how bumpy the road to them might be. Then I have to bring up one that I have loved for a year now. We will actually be reading this for a Rake Appreciation Society book club in the near future. Like I said, I have read it. I got to read an arc of it. I was actually sent a physical copy by the author once it was out. And yeah, it was such a sweet thing. I actually have like her note for me is like printed with the book. I just love that. It's so special. But yeah, this book is called Love and War by Shirra Lynn. This was Shirra's debut novel, and this is a black woman, white man modern historical romance between a black lounge singer in Paris and a son of the Third Reich, basically. He is a doctor. His name is Emil, and his father is pressuring him to become a physician for the Reich. And in the beginning of this book, Emil rescues Victoire. Her name is French. Sorry. He rescues her from being arrested and, you know, assaulted, basically. This is also about older characters. I believe the author said they're both in their 30s, which is interesting. I said it that way because when I read the book, they read a little bit younger to me than that, but also being a younger person, that's how I like read characters. I usually read them more to my age. But what happens in this is he rescues her by telling a fib that she is his new housekeeper. So Emil brings Victoire to his home and carries through on that because he isn't able to get her out of Paris. Like, he isn't going to be able to get her out of France to her family because her family, I believe, is already like fled. And she had stayed longer than she should have in the Nazi occupied France. Like, this wasn't, you know, it wasn't a smart decision to really wait. And now there are people watching them. So she does follow through with, like, becoming his housekeeper. Like, he has her do that, but she doesn't really know how. She, you know, isn't someone who's been in service. She's been a entertainer and an artist for years. Like, and so, yeah, but this bond is formed between the two of them because he doesn't have any other servants in his house. It's literally the two of them. And so it's this forced proximity. It's forbidden because of the time that it takes place. But I absolutely love this book. It's a real quick one. The audiobook is actually out for it now. It came out a couple months back. And yeah, we're going to be reading this for Rake Appreciation Society. And I can't wait for more people to get their hands on this book. I'm so excited because it just, not only is this one of the prettiest covers that came out last year, like, just, it's gorgeous, but this book is just so close to my heart. It's so precious to me, and I want more people to read it. It is a very uncomfortable story to read, but the HEA is so realistic. It's so beautiful. Like, it's fantastic. And then the last historical I want to share really quick is When a Duke Loves a Woman by Lorraine Heath. Yeah, I have a random full-size book for this one. So this is book 2 in a Sins for All Seasons series. You could read these ones out of order if you want to, but these are about 6 bastard children. This series is actually about baby farming, which was something that would happen with bastard children of lords and ladies. They would literally give or sell their children to these baby farmers who would either give the children away to people who wanted them, or they would kill them if they were small enough and they could get away with it. They would just murder these babies. And this series is about these 6 kids who all belong to this woman who she was a baby farmer, but like, she wasn't the one who like killed them. She would adopt them. So these 6 kids are all like, they're the true loves. I don't know how else to say it, but this one is about Gilly, who owns a tavern. She's a tall, strong, redheaded lady. And then our Duke, who he gets left at the altar at the beginning of this book, and he's worried about his now ex-fiance who'd run away. They weren't close. It was an arranged marriage, and she left him a note saying that she has loved someone else for many years, and she would be dishonest if she went through with this marriage. And so he just wants to find her because her family has like put a bounty on her head. Not a bounty as in like they would kill her or anything, but a bounty as in like if someone finds her and brings her back, they will get 500 pounds. And the hero, at the beginning of this, he's out looking for her because he's friends with her brother. He cares about her. He was planning to marry her, and you know, it would have been a peaceful, cordial, arranged marriage. And he gets beaten up and robbed, and he's able to like make it to Gilly's doorstep and like pound on the door. And so she takes him in, and Gilly is very like shy, not shy around men, but very like, stay away from me. And so she gets a doctor for him, and then is like trying to get him out of her home as quickly as possible. And he ends up sharing his plight with her about trying to find this woman. And he doesn't really, he doesn't clarify for her that he doesn't want to still marry her. He wants to make sure she's safe. And Gilly goes about helping them. So this is forbidden. This is a class difference. He needs to marry a lady. She doesn't want anything to do with him in the beginning. And so this was a very interesting one. I'm really enjoying this series. I'm actually reading the 3rd book right now, which is about the woman who left him at the altar and the man that she was really in love with. So, all right, let's move on to a couple like darker contemporary romance. So I want to talk about the Irreparable Duet by Mariano. This is a duet that I just read recently that kind of blew my mind. This is a romance that is very outside my comfort zone, but after reading a little book called Still Beating, which is another forbidden romance, but I've talked about that one quite a bit, I read the premise for this book, which I actually owned it in my Kindle library already because I did a deep dive on Mariano last year, and I had just never got to this duet. Like, this was like, there was only like 3 books of hers I hadn't read yet in this duet, some of them. And this is about a girl who she is the illegitimate daughter of a mafia kingpin, a mafioso, who has really stayed out of her life. She's being raised by her two moms, actually. One, her biological mom, who, you know, had been with the mafioso at one point, and now she has a partner. And she gets kidnapped soon after her 18th birthday and sold into the sex trade as kind of a sticking it to the man type of thing. And then we have our hero, Ethan, who is actually undercover with said, like, sex sellers, whatever we're calling it, these criminals, because he's trying to rescue a different girl who's already been kidnapped. And then Willow gets thrown in with this. He actually is, like, forced to rape her to keep himself from being killed and from her from being punished. And then shortly after, he's able to rescue her and the girls, but he feels just like the shit on the bottom of someone's shoe for traumatizing this girl. And he fully expects her to turn him in, because even though he was there, you know, he was there undercover to help girls, he rapes her. And really they're both extremely traumatized by this. And he and her end up connecting later on, and he says, like, if you want, you know, number one, you are welcome to turn me in at any time. Like, seriously, I understand. But she's like, no, you were also in a tight spot and you did rescue me. Like, what would have happened to me if you weren't the one who raped me? You know what I mean? Like, well, you don't know what I mean. This book is fucked. He also is married and has 2 kids with his wife. So this is a cheating book. But without spoiling it, I don't know how to explain to you, like, why this book worked for me. There's a very specific reason for me why it does work for me, because y'all know I don't love cheating in books at all. And I wouldn't consider the, like, rape, which to me was an assault on both of them. Obviously more so to her, but he's extremely traumatized by having to rape her to save them both. He doesn't want to touch his own children. He doesn't want to make love to his wife again because he feels so disturbed by this. And the way that they talk and connect and are able to bond over what happened to them, like, this duet really worked for me. And it is a forbidden romance. It's a taboo romance too, but I just want to wreck this book. It's one of Sam Mariano's first books, and it's fascinating. Then I just real quickly want to mention Hostage by Annika Martin and Skye Warren. This is one I just read at the beginning of the year. This is book 2 in the Captives and Criminals, or the Criminals and Captives duet. And this is about our hero Stone, who him and his crew are working on revenge against some very bad men who had raped them when they were young. So another one about sex trafficking, just so you know. And this girl, who it's her 16th birthday, she's in the wrong place at the wrong time, and she sees something she shouldn't. And so Stone feels like he needs to take care of her to save himself. And so he is going to kill her. He takes her to the place where he plans to kill her. And just the way that she is fearless and maintains her dignity through all of it has him changing his mind. But he decides to keep an eye on her going forward. So this is forbidden in the aspect that, like, it's a pretty big age gap. It's about a 10-year age gap, as well as she's underage when they first, like, meet. They don't have sex when she's underage, but they do a couple other things. And then she is the daughter of someone pretty important too, so she would definitely not be allowed to be with this criminal. So wanted to put that out there. Then I want to talk about The Rebel by Sophie Lark. You know, it's hard for me to make a recommendations list without a Sophie Lark in there if I can't make it. This is book 2 in the Kingmakers. You probably shouldn't start with this book. I know, I'm always a bitch when I say this, but I have not had one person yet who I told to read the entire Sophie Lark backlog to get to Kingmakers that has told me I was wrong. So let's say that. I'm 0 or 10 out of 10. I don't know what to say. But anyway, I wanted to put this in there. The Kingmakers, it's kind of like Mafia Hogwarts. Yeah, we know. The Rebel, Miles Griffin, he is the oldest son of Callum and Ada, who are the couple from Brutal Prince. And he falls for a girl named Zoey, who is a year behind him in school. And She is engaged to a psychopath, and not the sexy, fun kind, the terrifying kind that is a sadist and just wants her pain. And she starts this year of school knowing that he wants to make her life absolutely miserable. And Miles has never really noticed her before. He has his plans. He wants to use kingmakers to make all the connections that he has. He's not really there to be the next head gangster of anything. He just wants to have a good time, and he doesn't really care. And then he sees what's happening to Zoey and the way she's being treated, and he sees the fire she has and the way she just won't give up, and it's game on for him. And in the best way possible. Not game on as in like it's a game to him, but game on as in he's gonna do what he has to do to make this girl his, to rescue her from this psychopath, and to make sure that they have a happily ever after. And Miles, he's pretty great. These two are fantastic. So, you know, join the join the Sophie Lark cult, okay? Just do it. Do it. That wasn't creepy at all. Then I have Wrong by Adelaide Forrest. This one's real easy to sum up. This one is only novella length too. It's only 150 pages. This is a dad's best friend. This is non-consent. This starts with a rape. Just telling you, putting it out there. It's happening. Our hero, his name, what's his name? I totally forgot. Landon. He is starting to have feelings for his best friend's daughter, who has recently turned 18, and he's really struggling with them. So there's this club that actually this whole series by Blackheart Romance is like a part of. They are like interconnected standalones kind of. And there's this club where you can kind of have whatever sexual experience you want. And one of the things you can do is, you know, it's like a kinky Tinder where you can set up through the club like a date who is into the same kinks that you are, and he's into consensual non-consent and like rape fantasy. And this girl that he's like asked to meet him looks a lot like Everly, his niece, who's not his niece. There's no blood relation, but it's still pretty taboo because he's kind of like an uncle to her. And so he goes to the meeting spot to meet the girl that he's supposed to have this interaction with, and Everly is there. And because the description of the girl is Everly, like that's who he thought it was, he ends up kidnapping her because that's what the scenario was supposed to be. And because it's a consensual non-consent thing, he ends up raping her because she isn't consenting, but he thinks that she is. And then once he realizes what he did, he's like, oh, well, I guess she's mine now. So that's a forbidden, fucked up romance for you right there. All right, and then I have two kind of crazy ones for you. So I have You Are Mine by Jennika Snow. This is book 2 in her Lycan series, and this one is a fated mate, which you wouldn't think would be forbidden because, like, they're fated mates, so they should be together, right? Well, our heroine is the daughter of the Scottish Lycan King, there's lots of names for them. And she's a half-breed. So the Lycan King, he married this vampire lady, they're fated mates, and so they have children, and their children are each half. And their sons all were more towards the Lycan side, but their daughter is more towards the vampire side. And so there is this like big event that's happening where like all the Lycan in the area are there for a party. And our Lycan in this story, he is almost feral. He's barely holding on. He hasn't found his mate when I believe he's like 500 years. I can't remember how old he is. But they start to go insane if they don't find their mate eventually. And so he's definitely someone that the rest of the paranormal world kind of like stays back from a little bit because they know he's a little bit, but he shows up and he smells his mate and he knows that she's his. And so he goes to approach her, and her brothers and her father, who are very possessive like they realize what's happened, and they are like, you cannot have our sister/daughter. And so they take her and try to hide her away from him, and they forbid it to go forward. The thing is, the king of the Lycan, who he himself has a mate, seems to forget that there's nothing more powerful than the connection to your mate, and you will do anything to get them. Doesn't matter how far you try to take her away. So this is, all these books for Jennika are super sexy. Also, what's great is that the heroes, and usually the heroines too, they're all like virgins because they don't really feel any sexual desire outside of their mating bond. So if you're someone who likes virgin heroes, you'll like this series a lot. And then the last one I want to mention, this one's kind of off the cuff. This one's called Craving, Kiva by Zoey Draven. So I went on a Zoey Draven like downward spiral a few months ago, in a great way, of course, a deep dive into her after I read the Horde King series. And she has quite a few other books, and some of them are this alien series. And it's about this race of aliens who is literally like the optimum of sexual desire. Their sperm, when they dump their load, so to say, eject their load, as you will, their sperm is like magical, and it literally keeps you in an extended state of orgasm until you remove it. And there are very few of these aliens left, this race left, because there was a war on their home planet. And so on this one planet, there's this brothel where there's this woman who is their madam and literally forces them to be prostitutes. And this is a forbidden romance because our heroine, she comes into a bit of money from, I think it's an aunt or like a grandma or something has died, and she's still a virgin, and she decides that she wants to go to the sexiest creatures around, because she doesn't know that this brothel is like involuntary, and it costs like let's say it costs like $2,000 for an interaction with them. She's told that they get like half of that, and like half is for the house and like half is for them. Well, really, they're getting like $1 out of that for each encounter. Anyway, so our heroine goes to see him, and she starts seeing him regularly, and then finds out all of these dark things that are happening there. The only thing is, how could they get away from their madam, and where could they go? Where could they even go? They don't even know a place in the universe where it'd be safe for them. I loved this series. I devoured the whole series because there's like 4 books in this series and 1 novella, and I devoured it all. I loved it so much. So there you go. Those are some forbidden romances across all the genres, from dark to light to fun. It's all in there. Let me know some of your favorite forbidden romances, and make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be notified when I upload next. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.